under Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. The proper notice of this public meeting was provided in the notice. Said notice was posted at your entrance to the Board of Education office, mailed to the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, the North Jersey Herald News, and the Nutley Journal, mailed to the Nutley Township Clerk, advertised in the Nutley Sun, and posted on our district website. This is an official meeting. Flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mrs. Kuzo, Zolinsky, please.
Mr. Carnicella?
Here.
Mrs. Dancheck Morton? Here. Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Kelly? Riley?
Here. He's here too. He's here too.
Ms. Russo? Here. Mrs. Valera?
Here.
Mrs. Pizzano?
Here.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Here. Whereas the Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Education recess to close executive session at this time to discuss personnel and student matters. Be it further resolved that the results of this discussion will be made public by inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing such matters in closed session no longer exist. I so move. I need a second. Okay. Second, Mr. Spezzano. All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, we're going to be going into closed session, hopefully for not more than a half hour, and then we'll be back. Okay? Okay. Roll call, Mr. Cruzo, Zolinsky, please.
Mr. Carnicella?
Here.
Mrs. Dancheck Morton? Here. Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Ms. Russo? Here. Mrs. Valera?
Here.
Mrs. Pizzano?
Here.
Mrs. Kaczynski?
Here. And public, I apologize. It was only fair to us that we listened to the situation I listened to, and I'm sure you would appreciate that if it revolved around you. Approval of minutes. Take a motion.
Make a motion for approval of minutes, Mr. President.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence.
We do not have a
Presentations. Mr. Capella, are you ready?
I've been ready.
I know.
Just a little joke, little hip joke. Good evening, everyone. As part of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, twice a year we have to provide a report to the Board of Education, to the public. The report that you'll be seeing this evening is based on this past September through December. Some statistics on HIV investigations, how many we had, and how many were actually considered an HIV event. All right. Just so we all know, just want to make sure we all remember, when we're talking about HIV, for it to be considered an HIV event, where it's deemed or it's considered HIV, any gesture, written, verbal, electronic act, or physical act could be a single or a series of incidents. I think quite often we always think that it's historically that's always a series of incidents, but it could also be a single incident. It has to be reasonably perceived, being motivated by an actual or perceived characteristic, and we'll talk about in a second what those characteristics are, or by any other distinguishing characteristic. The place has to occur on school property, any school-sponsored function, basketball game, field trip, on a school bus, or it also could be off-school grounds, but for it to be considered HIB under off-school grounds has to be one or both of the below categories. The disruption to the school and affects the rights of other pupils. How does it affect the student? Physically, emotionally harming a student, putting them in fear of being physically, emotionally harmed, insulting or demeaning, or it creates a hostile educational environment, and or could be one of them or all three of them. What are the characteristics? Well, we've gone over this before. Here are the characteristics, specific characteristics, which could be deemed, if someone is targeted, actually or perceived, based upon any of these characteristics, it could be considered HIB. Bottom right-hand corner, any other distinguishing characteristic, just to break that down, just to give you an idea, it can be based upon height, weight, hair color, birthmark, anything, any characteristic that distinguishes that student. Who is part of the anti-bullying staff? I'm the coordinator, as you know. The anti-bullying specialists listed here are the ones that do lead the investigation whenever there is an allegation that is brought to the attention of the principal. The principal will ask the anti-bullying specialist to lead the investigation. Regarding the anti-bullying, our report from September to December, we investigated 52 cases. On the right-hand side, you can see that the high school had 26, the middle school had 11, Lincoln 7, Radcliffe and Spring Garden had 2 each, Washington had 1 HIB investigation, and Yantakall had 3. Breaking it down by elementary level, each school, to the left, the column to the left, is the investigation. To the right is the cases that were considered, were deemed as a HIB. All right. Going on to, just to go back, not only could it be considered an investigation, could it be considered HIB, but it also could be considered a non-HIB event. Once, if someone reports an HIB incident or alleged incident, like the train has left the station, we have to fully investigate it. Okay, we have cases that can be considered non-HIB. We could also have a case, an incident that could have been a code of conduct violation. At the elementary level, where we had 4 confirmed HIBs, okay, it just breaks down what was the actual or perceived characteristic. 1 was based upon gender, 1 was based upon sexual orientation, and 2 were based upon other distinguishing characteristics. At the middle school and the high school, we had 6 confirmed cases, or 26 investigations. At the middle school, we had 11 cases investigated, and 1 was considered an HIB incident. These 7 at the secondary level, here we can look at where 2 were based upon color, 1 nation of origin, 5 were based upon race, 1 on sexual orientation, and 2 on other distinguishing characteristic. What are we doing as a district from September through December? Training at the district level. Over the summer, I attended the administrators retreat to keep the administrators up to date on what's going on regarding HIB. What is the state suggesting? When the law was first implemented, I guess you could say the state was working out the kinks. I'm actually a part of the Bergen County Anti-Bullying Association, Anti-Bullying Coordinator Association, and we work closely with other districts to find out what's going on and how can we help each other out. I also attended the coaches retreat in August to train all the district coaches. We do have many district coaches that are employed within the district, but we also have several that are not employed with the district. So it's imperative that we get to those coaches that do not work in the district. The beginning of the school year, between the 4th and the 5th, we had a refresher course for all staff where we had 414 attendees. It was, the presentations were conducted by the anti-bullying staff at each school. October 11th, since we know that there is a direct correlation between bullying and suicide, and as part of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, we have to provide suicide training to the staff at every professional development period. And as you can see, we had over 600 attendees. I meet with the anti-bullying specialists throughout the year, and once again, I'm a member of the Anti-Bullying Coordinating Association in Bergen County. What are the things that we are doing? Well, we are addressing HIB. Certain things such as discipline, could be a loss of privilege, detention, in school, out of school, Saturday, there could be a verbal warning. support services, through the guidance department, special services, through the student assistance program, Mrs. Casilli and I. Depending upon what the situation, we have to be very creative. It's not a cookie-cutter approach. We do apology letters, make students do projects. We make them sometimes do posters, reflection essays or assignments to help them identify what is going on and ways that they could improve their behavior. Depending upon the situation, if it's a protected characteristic, sometimes you also get the affirmative action committee member involved as well. Other little things we may do, parent conferences, locker seat change, schedule change, monitoring, informing staff members, making sure that they're outside their classroom or watch for that hallway, make sure you're outside in the playground. At the classroom level, we have an elementary character education program. At the high school and the middle school, we are infusing lessons into the curriculum. However, for this upcoming school year, we're looking to purchase a program for the secondary level for 2014-2015 school year. School level, just some of the ideas, things that we do through the clubs, assemblies, theme days, fundraisers. And it's not, for us, it's not just about HIB or bullying. It's about building character with students. At the community level, we have recently, at the middle school level, we completed the Nutley Youth Survey. At the high school, I believe they'll be completing the youth survey a little later on in the year. That's going to provide us with a snapshot of what our students are dealing with. That's more at the 7 through 12. We also, members of the guidance department and Mrs. Casilli and I, we are members of the HOPE committee, helping our parents endure. That focuses a lot on drug and alcohol prevention. The CHAMP, which is a mentoring program, and we're members of the Municipal Alliance Committee, which fund a lot of drug and alcohol related activities. We also implemented for many years the Shovel Out Seniors program, SOS, which once again helps build character. Right. Just to go back for the week of respect. At the elementary level, we did Stop Out Bullying. District-wide, we did PA announcements, different exhibits. Media specialists were displaying different books. At the elementary level, we did a district-wide In Each Kindness activity, which required parental involvement, and they were displaying their work throughout the school. At the middle school, if you see when you walk in the building, you have a big banner, and we did a We Will Not Cross the Line lesson, and we continue to do lessons. High school, once again, they're infusing into the curriculum, classroom lessons, club-led activities. For the last few years, I've always been telling everyone we'll be receiving a grade based upon our HIB initiative. Well, around April last year, the state just said, you guys grade yourselves. And that's what we did. So over the summer, at the end of the school year, we submitted our self-assessment. Took them a while. I say a month ago, the state just provided those grades, same grades, back to us. And unfortunately, I'm having difficulty seeing this, but this is the actual report that the state gave us, which is the same presentation which I provided and the same numbers which I provided at the July meeting. Areas of strength, though, which I like to focus on, curriculum and instruction of HIB-related activities, which basically they focused on, wish I had a pointer, focused on week of respect activities. Core element number 5, which talked about HIB personnel, appointing anti-bullying specialists, and making sure you meet 3 times a year, which would mean more than that. Core element number 6, which talked about school-level HIB incident reporting procedures. What are the reporting procedures for HIB? Core element number 7, what is the procedure regarding HIB investigations? There's a timeline. And we're doing outstanding with that. Core element number 8, making sure our investigations, the findings are reported to Mr. Lazovic within 2 days. The one area which we do know that we do need to continue to work on, and we are working on that, as I said earlier, we're looking to implement and purchase a curriculum for 7 to 12 next year that will assist us. And hopefully we're looking into a curriculum for the elementary level. But the guidance department at the district-wide is working on creating a K-12 guidance curriculum. All right. Just to let you know, by Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights law, is that all the That report is posted on each school website as well as the main website. This biannual report of all the incidents, HIB investigations and incidents of HIB was provided to the state in July. Also, the state has allowed us to apply to receive funds to help offset implementation of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. So we submitted an application to be refunded for $17,000. We did that last year as well. However, we didn't see as much money. I think it was a few $1,000s we received back. So hopefully we'll improve this year what the state provides to us. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board members wish to make a comment? Mr. Capello, I'd like to ask you one question. I certainly appreciate what you do and your staff does, and I know you're constantly involved in the upgrading. And tell me what your coordinators or your HID people in every one of the schools, how much time do they spend being updated on the new laws, new regulations, what's going on throughout the state?
Good question. Well, the state is constantly providing information. The state had an anti-bullying task force that was developed, and they're making recommendations, this task force, to make suggestions to, I guess, change the law a little bit, but we're waiting for that. So every time I receive any type of information from the state, I pass it along to the anti-bullying specialist. Being a member of the Bergen County Association, every time we have a meeting, I attend the meeting, I call the anti-bullying specialist, and I try to give them as much information to keep everyone afloat of, I don't want to say changes, because there hasn't been any changes in the law, but interpretation it seems like it's constantly changing. So we're just trying to make sure that we're all following the law to the best of its ability.
Okay.
So, because as you can see, there have been the numbers of incidents that have been reported has drastically dropped from when it was first implemented. I think the state came out 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that the number of HIB investigations dropped 50% because we're starting to get a better idea of what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, is it in reference to the HIB report?
Or him going forward.
Or can we address it under new business?
If Mr. Lowe hangs around, yes, I'll have to talk to him privately.
I think we're going to have to do that, okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Lesko.
Since he's hanging around, I do want to say thank you, Joe, again, since this initiative started a couple of years ago. He has not hesitated in his work. We greatly appreciate it. He doesn't just meet with the HIP specialists. He doesn't just meet with the HIP specialists.
Mr. Kelly, I don't think the mic is working. I guess it means so.
Mr. Capello, thank you for everything you're doing, not just with your meetings with the specialists and whatnot, but for keeping the administrators informed as well. Joe makes sure that as things come out, even though just articles about cases that are going on that we might find of interest, he makes sure he keeps all the administration involved as well, so we're all kind of on the same plane, on the same team and up to date. And he does go above and beyond the number of hours that we put in a good way, proactively, working with students and avoiding discipline if possible, but we're talking about how we build character with recordation. So again, thank you very much for all you're doing. Mr. Kaczynski, since our last meeting, on Wednesday, March 12th, I attended the township meeting regarding the development of Poplar Rose property. Mr. Kaczynski was there, Mr. Carcel, Mr. Ferraro, Ms. Stanchik Martin, Mr. Klein, Mr. Riley, Dr. Vellani, and Ms. James. It was pretty much another Board of Education meeting. Obviously, the topics they were talking about are very close to our strategic plan and the issues that we're dealing with. And I want to show the public, I know Mr. Kaczynski has some comments tonight, but we are working proactively, and obviously as soon as we have more specific information, we'll be making a public presentation. I want to congratulate Ms. Leanne Martin. 2014 JC's honoree in the area of education. The annual dinner hosted by trying to make sure I embarrass her in every arena possible. It's well deserved, and we congratulate her. The annual dinner will take place again next Thursday, April 3rd. Park pilot. This has been one we've been talking about for a while, but our district was again selected to participate in the park pilot in preparation for the actual park administration for next year. As part of the pilot, the state identified grade levels in our buildings to participate in both the project-based assessment, or PBA, and the end-of-year assessment, or EOY. The PBA began today and is scheduled through April 11th. The end of year is from May 5th to June 6th. Grade levels in 6 of our 7 buildings were selected to participate in the PBA, and in 5 of our 7 buildings selected to participate in the end of year. These assessments are scheduled around the NJASC. They do not count. We do not get data on our students or on our performance as a whole back from the state. There are 2 pieces. Obviously, if something's coming, we want to understand what it is in 2 different ways. Number 1, thanks to Mr. Biemeister, Mr. Levine, Ms. Mehta, obviously Dr. Malani, all the work that we've been doing to try and make sure we're prepared on the hardware side, on the programmatic side, and being able to run, as part of this pilot, we can test our facilities to make sure that we're prepared for when we go live with this next year, and every single student has to be tested. So it's nice to get some practice. The other piece is to let a lot of our students experience online assessment, especially at the elementary level for the first time, before it counts, so that they can kind of get ready for that, and we can get some feedback from them and see what we can do between now and next year. Again, very confident in the curriculum work that has gone on and what our teachers are doing, that our students will be prepared academically, but it's a completely different interface. Typing and using a mouse is very different than reading off of a single sheet of paper and using another 2 pencils. And so we want to make sure we're doing everything we can so that our students are prepared. I want to thank our local professional development committee. This past Thursday, we had an afternoon professional day for the entire staff. There were multiple sessions going on. The largest piece began with both Mrs. Christiantello, and thank you very much for your collaboration, and myself, and just discussing the idea of the need for consistent feedback and how that plays out in a number of areas, including grading practices. Following the general session, teachers attended breakout sessions by grade level or department. In those sessions, the teachers discussed in groups their grading practices as we prepare to open our gradebook portion of the parent portal. A timeline was issued, and we'll be working with groups of teachers between now and September to get things in place so that we can open up next year all in real time. We can practice through the first 2 marking periods and come the 3rd marking period of next year, go live once and for all with our parent portal, with that portion of our parent portal. So again, thanks to the teachers and to the LGDC for all their work. The Academic Booster Club History Fair, thanks to Ms. Stanchek Martin and all of her colleagues in that organization for sponsoring again the History Fair this past Saturday in the high school gymnasium. It really was incredible to watch our kids come out and talk about things that they're passionate about, take on different characters from history. The costumes were amazing, the props were at times concerning, but always enjoyable. And just to see the kids out on a Saturday morning with parents and community members talking about their learning and being excited about things like history was really terrific. So I do thank all the ABC and all the different administrators who helped to make things happen. Same day, and by the way, a great number of board members were there as well, supporting the students. And I know that because they were also across the street here in the middle school as we finished up the Third Half Club's March Madness, which again, another great community event. I want to thank the Third Half Club for putting that on. Certainly thanks to the volunteer coaches, most of whom come from the district, but also congrats to the students, all the parents and families and community members that participated. I was here for the championship game, and it's great to see all the students out, but of course, congratulations to Spring Garden this year on their win. It was just great to see the kids playing, great show sportsmanship, and it's nice to know that we have a lot of talent that's coming up, both on the basketball court, but just also in character and sportsmanship. It was a great night. Mrs. Ristel and her staff, I want to thank them for the literacy night that they hosted this past Tuesday on the 18th. Students and parents came back to school in the evening to participate in a variety of literacy-based reading interdisciplinary activities, including my personal favorite, the Star Labs. They flip the globe and they have everyone come on in, and it's just a great teaching tool and a fun night. So I want to thank them for all their work and all the parents that came out. From all the feedback that we received, it was an enjoyable evening for the students and for the adults. I want to make people aware that tomorrow, March 25th, 6:30, in the middle school auditorium, Ms. Egan, the coordinators, Dr. Glein, myself, presenting information to parents for the middle school parent orientation. Traditionally, it's for parents of incoming grade 7 students. But given the shift to the middle school, we've opened the forum to both parents of incoming 7th and 8th grade students to allow parents to develop an understanding of scheduling curriculum and why we're moving to this model in the first place, what it entails, and why we feel it's the best move for kids. Just want to point out, I didn't speak about it before, but again, congrats to our girls varsity team. I'm sure we'll have her here with Mr. Pyro, them here with Mr. Pyro at some point. But I want to highlight a letter that I sent to Raider Nation in general. It really was an amazing thing, having played high school basketball, coached in the rest at the collegiate level, the local level. We had over 500 community members, students, teachers, administrators at a game in West Mars, which is over an hour away. And that alone, I think, is a testament to the commitment in the community here in the district. I will tell you, having been a part of, both on the court and the stand, basketball crowds can get a tad rowdy from time to time, just from my personal experience. Our students, their display of creativity and sportsmanship absolutely blew me away, including their chant when they singled me out and were asking for a delayed opening. I have to say, in all sincerity, congratulating the students, because the tendency in those situations when tensions are high and the pressure's on and everyone wants to win, to act in ways that we hope we never have to act or would act. Our students, to a person, they had coordinated cheers. They were doing it was absolutely unbelievable, and there was not one issue. And I absolutely commend the community, but certainly the student body, for their display of sportsmanship and the way they supported our team. It really was something to see. If you're interested in reading the letter, you can find it on my website, on my classroom website. I want to congratulate, again, all good news. Thursday, March 13th, the jazz band, under Mr. Maiola's direction, earned a ranking of silver, 2 Best Section Awards, and 3 Best Soloist Awards in New Jersey Association of Jazz Education State Jazz Preliminaries. It's a huge honor. Again, congratulations to obviously all of our music staff that feed up to the high school, to Mr. Maiola, and to those kids, their families, and again, to the community. It's just a great thing. Kindergarten registration. The main kindergarten registration took place the week of March 3rd. March 3rd through the 21st, obviously registration continues. Currently, we have 230 kindergartners, which is higher than previous levels. But again, we're not always 100% sure how things are going to ebb and flow. We're going to continue to monitor kindergarten as they continue to register, and obviously continue to update all committees and the full board as to our numbers in the situation that puts us in with our facilities as we go. Thanks again, part of our strategic plan, the Community Action Team hosted a Parent Academy on March 19th, again in this building, where parents were able to come and sit in front of computers and learn about the different technological tools that the district has put in place recently, how they can use them. So again, thanks go out to everyone from Mr. Viemeister and Mr. Levine, to everyone on the communications action team. They discussed things like the parent portal, l'ambiance, the park assessments that are coming up, but even just navigating our website so that parents can more easily find the information they need, and our calendar, which I think is incredibly functional, and yet we seem to not try to get the message out there how to most effectively use that. But the parents were there, asked great questions, and it was a wonderful night. I'm sure we'll look to do it again. Update on Gifted and Talented. There are 2 activities that obviously come up every year that we want to make sure the board is aware of coming up again. Challenge 24, where 5th and 6th grade representatives participate. It's going to be at Millburn Middle School this year, Friday, March 28th, and our students will be going to represent us there, as well as academically speaking. Our elementary school team is scheduled to compete against Bloomfield in the first round on Wednesday, April 2nd, 6:15. The middle school team is scheduled to compete against Liberty in the first round on Thursday, April 10th, and all tournaments take place in Bloomfield Middle School. This, of course, obviously will be on our website for those who want to follow and support. Public Library had an art contest going on. Dr. Vellani and Mr. Riley have been working with Ms. Sylvester from Nutley Public Library to promote the art contest as part of their centennial celebration. We're doing everything we can to recognize the fact that the library is hitting a milestone. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful resource right in the middle of our town. They're going to award Barnes & Noble gift cards to the winners and books to the runners-up in each category / age group during National Library Week, which the celebration commences April 12th at 2 o'clock at the Public Library. There are a number of professional development opportunities still going on. I've updated the board in brief. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip those now, but again, if you have questions, please let us know. Just an update on strategic planning action teams. The character team is finalizing their definition for character work, and they've started to write their curriculum. The communications team, as we talked about, had their most recent parent forum. They have 2 more pieces coming up, as well as the survey going out. The community team, they've been implementing year 2 goals, which include professional developments for small groups of teachers related to sharing information with the community as it relates to our district programs. Our competency team had one meeting, they're having another meeting with staff members that are preparing to pilot the framework for next year. Our configuration broke into 3. Elementary, Mrs. Corolla has been leading us, she's still here. Yeah. Leading the team, we're working, brainstorming space concerns, configuration-wise, having to do with our existing population plus the current students who are being registered, as well as developing consistent practices across all 5 elementary buildings. At the middle school, obviously, we discussed this regularly, which is Ms. Egan is leading the work with our faculty and staff moving into the middle school model. Includes part of the professional development day. The middle school team actually broke off, and while I did talk about grading practices, they did so within the guise of the middle school model. They met in teams to start working through meetings and the rest. And we have a number of professional development sessions just for the middle school moving forward to make sure we're ready for September. At the high school level, Mr. Banya leading the way again, working with a number of teachers to talk about the most efficient high school schedule that we can implement. Based on our current configuration, that they found that we are less efficient meeting the needs of our students as far as offerings and the use of time. And so they're preparing a presentation for the board later this year to discuss their findings and what recommendations they have so we can maximize the time that we do have. And as always, thanks to the curriculum action team, they met Thursday afternoon as well, sharing the revised program reviews in science and in health and physical education. Again, the sole purpose of this is to make sure that our programs are always cutting edge, our teachers have access to professional development on a regular basis, and most importantly, that we're not playing catch-up. That we have a 5-year plan, and each of the 5 years, each curriculum is moving through a different phase, so we are always at the cutting edge, and our teachers have the tools and the resources as well as the professional development that they need. Lincoln instructional rounds again, coming to a close. Tomorrow, Lincoln School. April 8th, Yannicott School, our last session. Actually, we got great feedback from staff who've gone on visits again, and it's provided the host buildings with a great deal of information on how they're progressing toward their goals, which was the piece. Last week, Mrs. Jamans updated our budget to the county office for its initial review. The public presentation for our budget will be our next meeting, Monday the 28th. A number of upcoming dates again for the public. What I would recommend, as always, is that you refer to our website. We do a better job every day in making sure everything is accessible so that you can follow on the calendar as well as our news events on the main page. And please check, because there are different news events based on the school page versus the district page. Just some key dates that I will say in case someone watches the film. Kindergarten orientation. Yannicott School is April 22nd. Washington is the 23rd. Radcliffe the 24th. Spring Garden the following week on the 29th. And then Lincoln School wraps us up with orientations on May 1st. Highly encourage all of our parents of incoming kindergartens to take advantage of that opportunity and get to the school for their orientation. Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes, sir. Mrs. James. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of things that I would like to update the board on. That's okay. I can project. This evening there are a couple of resolutions, one of which is to approve the purchase of defibrillators. We're going to be purchasing 26 units to be placed throughout the district. It will also allow each of the athletic coaches to have a portable unit with them at every single practice and at every single event. This puts us in compliance with Janet's law, and we have until September to be compliant, so we're being very proactive in approving the purchase this evening so that training can take place before the opening day of school. And those machines are all being purchased through state contract pricing. Also on tonight's agenda is the award of 2 contracts that I've been speaking about in previous meetings. One is for the stair tower door replacement at the high school, and we are awarding that contract to the lowest bidder, C&N Door Controls. The second award is for the roof replacement at Nutley High School. Following the receipt of the bids, we did receive a bid protest from Northeast Roofing. And the bid protest was immediately forwarded to our attorney, who did a thorough review and found that at the time of the bid opening, the lowest bidder, Billy Contracting, was not classified to do metal roof work, which was a requirement of the alternate that was in the bid. And he also did not provide the correct information for uncompleted contracts. He had been awarded a contract from another board and did not place that information in his bid. So as a result, the attorney has determined that Billy Contracting's bid is materially defective, and the resolution tonight is to award to Northeast Roof Maintenance because they are now the lowest responsible bidder. The Lincoln School Secure Entry Project bid was advertised in the Star Ledger today. We've been also talking about shared services, and when the board had a meeting about a year and a half ago with the town commissioners, one of the items that came up for discussion was the waste removal contract. At that point, we had to wait until both the municipality's contract and the school district's contracts were going to expire. Theirs expires in May of this year and ours in June. So they have put together a bid, and that bid is going to be available this Friday, and the bid opening will be on April 11th. In the meantime, there's going to be an interlocal agreement drafted, and it will be reviewed by the board's attorney as well. And I will continue meeting with Commissioner Rogers to discuss the fees that the board will be paying to the municipality for the service, which will in turn save us money on what our current waste removal costs are. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Committee reports. Ms. Dancher.
Okay. The academic committee met on Tuesday, March 18th. Dr. Bly updated the committee members on the world language pilot program. Teachers are participating in training sessions with 2 of the companies chosen by the pilot team. Curriculum and instruction training is ongoing for Reader's Workshop, science training for kindergarten, grade 6, and middle school teachers, and also social studies training for teachers in grades 5 and 6. We also spoke about the application process for new hires. Dr. Villani reviewed the interview process, including use of AppleTrack, telephone screens, face-to-face interviews by the committee for the second and possible third rounds, and the review of references with recommendation to the superintendent to ensure that we hire the best staff for all our students. We also spoke about the middle school model and the music program and the options for the children that have music, choir, and also instrument at the, for the middle school. We also spoke about kindergarten registration and numbers and overcrowding, and especially at 10 o'clock.
Do you want to go right into the report on the history fair? Do you want to say something on that?
Sure.
I know Russ covered it, but I think you might want to
Right.
allude to it.
Okay, well, we held the history fair Saturday, March 22nd. We had over 90 students enter exhibits. Entertainment was also provided. We had a samurai, Viking, historical crafts, and games. Presentations were made by Kingsland Manor and also Nutley Museum. We also had a Civil War reenactment with a cannon.
Yes.
That went off every hour. Yeah.
You
It
know
was a big
it.
hit. So we want to thank everyone that participated making the event so successful, especially the judges.
Yes, especially the judges. It was a nice affair. Obviously, we spent some time with Wyatt Earp and his sidekick there, but the cannon was a hit. It was really impressive. It was a nice time.
Yeah, they do a good job every time they come here.
Thank you for coordinating that. Really.
And Yannick walks.
Yes.
Something about that? Okay. Want me to do that now?
Might as well.
Okay. The Board of Education has an opportunity to partner with the Township Health Department, which has been awarded a $10,000 Shaping New Jersey grant. The grant would fund a pilot program to promote walking to school, and Yannick has been identified as a pilot location. Yannick Walks pilot Nutley Walks to School program would aim to increase the number of Nutley students who walk to school. A joint resolution between the township and the district in support of Nutley Walks to School program, including Yannick Walks pilot, is in the process of being written. More information is available on the Yannick Walks Facebook page, and also there is a Shaping New Jersey Community Pilot website.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Carnicello.
We covered a lot of stuff in the communication.
I know you had a busy time.
Mr. Lazar covered everything. The only thing that I think he may have missed was the musical at the high school, which...
Last time, nothing.
Okay, well, there you go. Thank you. So, I was at the basketball game. That was amazing. It brought me right back to when I was in high school. So it was an excellent time. If you walked in there, like I told a lot of people I've talked to, it was like walking into nothing that day. We owned the building, so it was very good. And I think that's pretty much it.
Communication report, I know Mr. Laswick touched on it.
Yeah, on the parents, yeah.
The parents' portal language was very informative. I wish
Yes.
more parents would have attended it, but it was very, very informative.
Well, and that's one of the things with the committee too. We're going to try to work harder to continue to push this along and still, keep that reach going to the parents that, we really need to pull that community together and get them out. It's very important, so.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Yes, sir.
That's all. When they watch the TV, there'll be nobody on. So.
That's okay, I'm good. We had a finance meeting March 18th. Myself, Sal Ferrara, Dan Carnicella, Mrs. Yeamans, Mrs. Gomez, and we went over 2004-2015 budget. We had a representative from IMAC come in and discuss insurance renewal plans. IMAC also presented a portal that we're going to be setting up, and our administration will be testing it, test stages before it's actually recommended to be running. Like Karen said, we discussed finance agenda resolutions, capital project, the high school roof, facilities update regarding the middle school column and Radcliffe School basketball hoops. And that was our meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Any other committees? I'm going to give try to give a brief report on the administration committee. We met on March 17th. Mr. Scalera, Ms. Russo, and myself. We discussed the technology updates. We discussed the communication RFP. We talked about the Booth Drive, the parking along Booth Drive, the parking along the high school, New Street parking. We talked about some policies that you'll be seeing coming up in our next reading. We also spent some time talking about the future of Nutley and how the growth will affect our schools was discussed. And I need to spend a little time to talk about this, and I hope you will indulge me for a couple minutes. It's the responsibility of this board to be sure that any Nutley group involved in the planning and building of the community is kept aware that they must consider the current population of all our schools before making any decisions regarding zoning. To that end, we have already sent a letter to the zoning board, which I'm sure the board members all have, advising that while we support any and all development that betters the township of Nutley, we need them to exercise caution when making decisions that add residents that could increase the population of our schools. In addition to this letter, we, moving forward, will provide the latest data from the board's demographer, correct? Just want to make sure I make it correct. Recently hired to aid the facility planning committee. So these municipal boards are properly armed with the most current information that might affect our facilities when they consider adding new construction or approving a change of use. The bylaws, and again, for my board members, and I'm sure we're aware of the bylaws of the Nutley Board of Education, were also reviewed, reaffirming that board members delivering this information on behalf of the board shall not represent his or her own personal opinion as the position of the Nutley Board of Education. Our bylaws are very specific, and I will read them for the record. Part of it, board members are entitled to express themselves publicly on any matter, including issues involving the board and the school district. Individual board members cannot, however, express the position of the board except as expressly authorized in accordance with the board policy 9120. A board member should not represent his or her personal opinions as the position of the board. I know we're all aware of that. Again, we did discuss that. Moving forward a little bit more, to be clear to everyone, the board has hired a demographer in order to be proactive. He studied each of our neighborhoods and schools. The Nutley Board of Education will make a full public presentation on our current status and its future projections with our schools. However, with the current climate and discussion that is going on throughout town, the community should be aware that all of our elementary schools are overcrowded, without a doubt. There is no easy fix but the Nutley Board of Education, in collaboration with our commissioners, are trying to determine the best course moving forward. With that said, we are, the superintendent and the board is going to make sure that any notification letters from the zoning board, the Board of Ed will send the high school, the middle school, and the grammar school in that particular area of town notice back to the zoning board to let them know of the population in those particular schools. If the zoning board has specific questions, the superintendent will respond with a letter directly to the zoning board. I suggest, and we're going to be doing that, is that these letters be very informative. I think we've even talked about putting out the demographer's report, maybe making a presentation to the zoning board, the planning board, as a group, to be sure that all the factors involved in Nutley are aware of our population in our schools. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. People have been talking about it, and I think we need to have it out there. Any other committee reports? At this time, the hearing of citizens. Mr. Thomas, I'll entertain your question to Mr. Capella at this time. I'm going to read my statement first, if you don't mind, okay? We now come to the portion of the meeting where we allow members. I'm sorry. Oh. No, it's just this one. We now come to the portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments on only the resolutions addressed in tonight's agenda. Our board regulation 601 allows 20 minutes for these communications. Each person should be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, only after all others wishing to speak on a topic have been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson, and no one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember to always state your name and address each and every time you address the board. Mr. Thomas, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Alan Thomas, 108 McKinley Street. Mr. President, I thank you for the opportunity. I did speak with our coordinator on HIV, and I'll let you know what the question was too. There's a new anti-cyber bullying law that just was enacted recently, and I was wondering if it was going to be included in the training and the programming going forward. It's particularly important that parents be aware that they face liability for their kids' cyberbullying under this new law, and I just thought that was very interesting. I'm sure you think
Thank
so
you.
too.
I do too.
I have other questions, but we'll wait my turn.
Someone else wish to come to the microphone? Back up, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, sir. Question on academic resolution number 3. I'm delighted that our school district makes ourselves available for work done by graduate students for their master's or PhDs studying important school-related issues. But here's one I've never seen before. The second issue, second applicant, or whatever it's called, seems to be something less than a graduate student. But I don't know because it's unclear. Is this Mr. Cohen a faculty member or somebody at that?
High school students, a number of high schools in New Jersey and around have what they call senior internships, and they actually have part of their program of studies where they release them to other buildings to do work study, field study, and the rest. And one of the things we're trying to explore is to see if it's something we might want to pursue with our program study. But having been contacted, our technology department, basically my understanding is that this student's here to shadow a number of aspects in our technology department as part of that senior project.
That is absolutely wonderful. That is just wonderful.
We're hoping to see a lot of our children's names resolutions at another school.
Yeah, that would be wonderful because going to the other schools is a terrific opportunity to see how other schools do things. And I know that's been part of your program in our program for a program of studies for faculty and staff as well. I think that's terrific. I just have one more question about finance resolution. Most of my questions about finance resolution number 13 were already answered by Ms. Yeaman. I'm just, and I can talk to Ms. Yeaman more about the specifics of this, but I would recommend that the resolution, if this happens again in the future, that it be, the attorney's role be more prominent at the beginning. In the whereas clauses, for example.
He wrote the resolution.
Yeah, well, I have no doubt about that, but I'll
Had a
just
couple of
say.
times it would have been in bold, print, underlined, and
Well, for example, the 9th whereas clause,
I'll get it. If not, okay.
whereas Bill Lee contract restoration did his material effective because blah, 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 blah. That is a conclusion, okay? And that is a conclusion that the board, by passing this resolution, is making. And I think that is a conclusion that particularly should be done on the advice of council, and should say so.
But it does, as you said later on,
It indicates later
that's
that,
back to this.
but that is
I'd rather
a,
see it up front.
I think that should be up front because that is what we call in the law a potentially defamatory statement. And I think that should be made very clear on whose advice the board is making that conclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard on resolution items? If not, Ms. Stanchek, will you take academic resolutions, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I move academic resolutions 1, 2, 3.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, Mrs. Capuzzo, please.
Mr. Conicella?
Yes.
Mrs. Stanchek Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Scalera, will you take administration resolutions, please?
Sure, Mr. President, I move administration resolutions 1 and 2 as written.
Second.
Roll call. I'm sorry, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Conicella?
Yes.
Mrs. Stanchek Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Sposato, finance resolution, please.
Mr. President, I move finance resolutions 1 through 13 as written.
Second. Someone?
Okay.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Conicella?
Yes.
Mrs. Stanchek Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Carnicello, will you take personnel resolution number 1 first, please? Second.
I'd like to move forward personnel resolution number 1 as written.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Conicella?
Okay, I'm sorry. Hang on. Okay, to clarify the public, the personnel resolution execution of agreement. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the agreement with the employee in accordance with the terms and conditions therein. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Conicella?
Yes.
Mrs. Stanchek Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Now, Mr. Carnicello, take the other personnel.
I'd like to move forward personnel resolution number 2 as written.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Conicella?
Yes.
Mrs. Stanchek Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Russo? Yes. Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Spizzato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. In this section, we allow questions or comments on all school-related matters. Our regulations allow 30 minutes for these communications. Again, each person should be limited to 3 minutes, and we actually try to stay within this requirement. As I stated earlier, all statements will be directed to me. First person, step forward.
Francine Giardelli, 129 Colonel Avenue, in Nutley. My daughter's a 8th grade student getting ready to go into high school next year.
You don't have to stand in front of the mic, because obviously the mic's not working, so be comfortable and speak up.
Okay. My daughter wants to enter the vocational program that they have in West Floydwell for the high school years in cosmetology. She's been doing some of the events that they had to qualify her to go there, which was kind of a week at the Essex County Vocational School in Newark. She had an interview, she had to write an essay, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I tried to ask, and I made a couple of phone calls and left some messages, just to let you know I didn't get any response. So my question is that all of the other towns in Essex County, except Nutley, is allowing the students to go for a 4-year program. Nutley seems to be the only town that does not allow that with the students. I don't understand if it's a state requirement for the children to get so many credits for going to school, that every other town within Essex County that attends there only goes for 4 years. But if she goes to Nutley and she wants to do a shared time program, that they want her to go longer. I'd like to know, where is it that the state requirements, as opposed to the municipality, in every other town in Essex County that's allowed to go there, goes in a different time frame. I did speak to one of the guidance counselors, and her answer to me was, well, maybe it's longer to take the bus there to Quadwell, and that's one of the reasons why they don't do it. Also, my daughter is a special ed student, and she has an IEP, which I was told from the guidance counselors in the other school that the IEP would override those requirements for her to be able to go for a 4-year program there. So what the answer that I would like to get is, why is it so different for Nutley instead of Bloomfield, Belleville, Glenridge, Verona, Caldwell, and everyone that goes to that school that's only doing a 4-year program? Obviously, they have to meet state requirements, so why isn't it being met here?
And I can't speak to the specifics of your daughter's IEP. And there are times when an IEP may waive a graduation requirement, but the basic answer is a little over 2 years ago, when the new state requirements for graduation went into effect, and you need 24 classes in order to graduate. There's no physical way to get in. What you're really asking is halftime here and halftime there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She wants to be a part, I'm sorry.
No, I understand completely. The problem is with our given schedule and the transport time, there is no way within 4 years to get any student here for half of the day to fulfill the requirements, and then to the VOTEC in time to finish half of their day the way they schedule as well.
I know I'm a little old, and it's many years ago, but I went to that school, as well as my sister went to that school, and we didn't have to go for 5 years to be able to get the credits.
Yes.
And if you do it in every other town, Bloomfield does it, Belleville does it, Caldwell, Verona, Cedar Grove, they all do it. How is it not possible? They all have the same school times. Children don't go to school here till 3:30. They don't start at 7:30 in the morning. They go the same time frame as all the other schools. So why would it not be feasible for the bus to be able to get them there on time and for them to make their credits there without having to be there as a full-time student? She wants to be a part of Nutley. She's grown up here. She's been going to school here since kindergarten. And I don't see how it can be fair. To me, it's discriminating that you're allowing every other town in the county to do that program, but not do it here.
Again, I can't speak to what every other district is doing. I know everyone's different. All I can tell you is that the time restraints, they have to be here for half the day in order to complete 4 years. If she would like to go for 5, we can make that happen because it allows extra course time for her. But as far as answering your question directly, it legitimately is from the beginning of our bill, at the beginning of the high school day, in order to go half a day, and then get onto a bus, we cannot get our students there to complete half the day at the VOTEC based on their schedule.
It happened before. You always did it before.
Because there were not 20 core courses that were required for graduation.
So what are the other towns doing? Why is it, but it's a county program.
I'm assuming they made, and again, we still support the county program, we just aren't able to get people there part-time within 4 years. And I can't confirm or deny whether or not other towns across the county can. I can tell you that right now, with our given schedule, we cannot.
Well, do those other towns, I mean, a state requirement is X amount of courses per graduating for 4 years. What's different about Nutley that's not in all these other towns?
I don't know, in the sense that it's their
Well,
start and end
is there
time.
someone that can tell me what the state requirements are as opposed to the municipality?
Absolutely, the state requirements are part of our program studies on the state website and our website as well. The 20 courses are clearly listed. In order to finish those 20 courses in a full high school schedule, you need a half per day. In order then to go to the VOTEC, based on our schedule, when you start, to finish half of the day, and then to get in the bus and go, we cannot get you there in time. Now, I don't know what districts do. They may start earlier, they may have less travel time, I'm not sure.
I've called several other towns and I've asked them, and I've called several of the Board of Educations, and everything is the same. This is the only municipality that doesn't do it.
Well, it may be, and again, I can't
I think
confirm
it's
that.
maybe more of a personal preference
Who's?
within the town. Because if every other town in Essex County is doing it and you're not, there's got to be a reason for that.
Well, again, I'll say the same reason that was 2 years ago, which was that we cannot physically get students through a half day of Nutley High School, given the existing schedule, and then to the VOTEC in order to complete a half day at the VOTEC based on their schedule.
How many minutes more are you away from Bloomfield, Belleville, Glen Ridge, okay, Verona and Cedar Grove, or maybe further? Maybe it's 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Right, look, I'd be happy to have, and again, Ms. DeVille as well, we'd be happy to go through the program studies for you. I'm sure the counselors would as well. But it's not that we can show you onto, because we tried to make it work, unfortunately, with our given
It's been
schedule.
working for 30 years. I was the first graduating class at that school. My sister graduated at that school.
And
It's
the
been being done
change-
for all this time.
The change that occurred for us was the move to the 20
But you
core
say for
courses.
us meaning nothing. You're saying us.
It
Us
changed
meaning
for
nothing.
everyone.
Did it change for Belleville,
It
Bloomfield,
sure did,
and all these other towns?
absolutely, just like I said.
Well, then why are they allowed to go for a 4-year program?
I don't know how they've done it. That's what I'm saying.
Can
We'd have to look to moving our schedule earlier in order to make that happen, basically, because we cannot physically get students.
But that school doesn't even start any earlier. It starts the same times.
No, we
You were
would have
saying
to
something
move-
about the school starting in towns. They don't start at 7:30 in the morning. They don't go till 3:30 in
And
the
I can't
afternoon
really
to
speak
school.
to how they're doing it with credits. I can tell you that we're held to the same standard that they are.
Exactly. If you're held to the same standards as all the other towns, and the other towns allow a 4-year program, why are you not allowing a 4-year program?
Can you allow us some time to look into how the other
Absolutely.
schools conducted? I mean, we'll have to, I guess, obviously look into how Belleville, Bloomfield, the other schools are doing it, and then come back with an answer to you on why we are not able to fit that into our schedule, if that's the answer.
I mean, I appreciate that. I would like an answer. I just, like I said, I can't. Your school did it
I
for
understand.
years.
We don't, obviously, we don't have the answer for you tonight, so
Okay.
let us find out.
So is there someone that will contact me and get back to me?
You contacted whom?
I left messages at the Board of Ed, and I messaged.
So we must have your number. I'll make sure that we get back to you directly.
Give me your number. We'll give the
My
number.
number, 973.
I'm gonna hear to publicly.
No, you think it's not a good idea.
I don't think anybody here's gonna call me.
I'm like you, I kind of
Your
figured.
daughter is currently in 8th grader.
Yes,
We
she
have your
is.
phone number. We'll make sure we
Okay,
get back to you.
that's safer. Mr. Capello will be looking for me.
That's right.
Mr. Capello knows my phone number. You can ask him.
We will get back to you with some type of answer, hopefully a direction.
Well, because she's planning, I'm not trying to be,
Schedule.
yeah, the schedule is getting done, and she's planning for next year, and it's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Someone else like to address the microphone?
I guess we're not speaking at the microphone.
No.
Terry Clark, 45 Hampton Place, spokesperson for the Nutley Parent Advocacy Network. On Wednesday, we had our seminar, our free seminar, when our attorney showed up, and she was very informative. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for showing up and staying. I know it was a miserable night, and Mr. Ferraro, thank you too. I just have to say that I learned a lot from her, and I wish that there were more people that had attended. I mean, we did have a nice showing with our parents, but there were some things that we brought up there which I think was, that I think that the public should really know about in regards to how things are being handled at this point. We were talking, I remember at the last board meeting, Mrs. Lockwood got up to the microphone and she spoke about her situation, and she had wished that she was hoping that there would be no retaliation. And you had said, Mr. President, that you don't accept a retaliation. It's just not acceptable, and I appreciate that. It just seems that things seem to be getting kind of heated, and obviously I must, because I am who I am, step on certain people's toes, and I just wanted to clarify certain things. And I received something last week that I wanted to just share with you and just kind of clarify, because I want to be seen as someone who's helpful and not as someone who's trying to be detrimental to the system. So I have some if you can take one copy, please. This was handed to me, and take one copy, thank you. And I got this through electronic email, and I wanted to just specify, because when I saw this, I noticed that there's some inaccuracies, and I wanted to just point them out. This is from Schneck, Price, Smith, and King, the attorneys for the Board of Education, and it was dated March 18, 2014, and it's sent to me. Dear Mrs. Quirk, this firm represents the Nutley Board of Education. I'm in receipt of your chain of emails between Mr. Lasbeck and members of the board pertaining a particular matter which I cannot make public. It is a confidential matter. The board has asked me to again request that you refrain from copying them on your emails to the administration. I was a little concerned about that, or kind of, questioning that, because I really didn't see the board members listed at the bottom. So I didn't understand which board member was having difficulty with this. If so, that's I certainly don't want to step on anyone's toes. While you certainly have a right to request redress from the Board of Education after you exhausted the chain of command, it is highly inappropriate for you to involve them in a student matter prior to that time. Now, being aware of other people's rights, I'm also aware of my own. And I do know that we do live in the United States of America with a full Constitution, and I have First Amendment rights just like everybody else. And being a taxpayer and a resident and a parent of this community, I do feel that I have the right to speak on behalf of parents who are having difficulty. In this particular situation, I just wanted to point out to the board, this was a situation that came to me, it was really heated. This mother wanted to take this to a completely different and very painful and ugly level. She wanted this to go out into the media, she wanted to take this to a completely different level. And I said, wait a minute, you know what? Let's see if we could kind of resolve it at this issue behind closed doors, so to speak. So that's why I was the person who, on behalf of the mother, knowing how upset the mother was about this particular situation, I took it upon myself to send that email. So if I really thought I had exhausted the chain of command, because I had asked the mother, where did you finish up with? And I always ask parents, like, where did you go? Like, if you're talking to people, who have you talked to? Have you just talked to the teacher? If you need to take it to the principal, if you need to take it to the superintendent, you go up that chain of command. So I believe in the chain of command. But to say that it's highly inappropriate for me to involve them is I don't know, I don't agree. I personally think that just as I have the right to send anything to someone, everybody here has the right to delete whatever I send. So if you don't want to read it, it's perfectly up to you. Indeed, the Code of Ethics for board members requires them to refer all complaints to the superintendent, and I do know that. To be clear, no one is questioning your right to zealously advocate for your clients, and I just wanted to point out, I have no clients. I have parents that I represent. They come to me, I help them out, I write letters, and sometimes I show up at meetings, but I don't take any kind of, no financial, nothing. Money does not come, we don't exchange money at all. I ask them to support our turkey trade. That's like the biggest thing that I get from them. And to zealously advocate for them. I do zealously advocate for my parents because I believe in them and the kids, and I really wish I didn't have to zealously advocate for someone. So I would love to have parents be able to advocate for themselves and not have any issues. We only ask that you follow the proper protocols. In doing so, please respect our wishes in this regard. Fine. I mean, I just wanted to let you know that someone had read this for me and they said, what happens if you don't respect their wishes? Is something going to happen? Now, again, I go back to the retaliation, and you said that's not acceptable, and I believe you. So, like I said, I just look at something like this, and I think it's so unnecessary to put someone in a situation where they have to be reprimanded, so to speak. So I'm just hoping that we have a better form of communication in the future, and if I have to meet with anyone, I'd be more than, my door is always open, always, Mr. President. You know that we've had conversations. I never not want to speak with people. So I just wanted to say that this particular letter was a little disturbing to me. But also, one of the things that the attorney had said during our meeting is that we had spoken about that we are now seeing more of the attorneys at planning meetings, or they're coming to some meetings. And I said, you know, aren't we paying these people to attend these meetings? And she said, yes. So she went on to say that if it becomes, and she pointed this out to us, that if it becomes excessive, where these attorneys are attending all these meetings, and it becomes, and the one way that we can know if it's excessive, if you could check the line budget item for legal costs, and if it's 133% over what the Board of Ed had budgeted, if we know that that's the case, then we can file a complaint against the district. Again, I'm asking that we don't go to that level. So I'm just saying that if there's any way that we can kind of resolve things and work together, you know, we're really, really here for the kid. And then as you're up here and you spend so many hours talking and being with the children and being here, you know, on our level too, on our side too, we're the same way. So we just hope that we can be a little friendlier in regards to this.
You know, Ms. Quirk, I'm in a very precarious situation here because, and you can sit down because this is going to take a little while.
Okay.
I'm rather uncomfortable having to address you, but I'm going to address the public, not you personally, okay? When you and I first met, we were not very friendly to each other. I wasn't very friendly to you. When I turned the letter down that you wanted me to read, I refused to read it. Since then, I've come to certainly respect you and appreciate what you endeavored to do. But on the other side, I've been on the board. First of all, I need to apologize to my board members because I know there's some board members here who want to speak. And that's the unfortunate situation we have here, that it comes through me. I see familiar faces in the audience that know me very well, and I refer to Sue Finari, who's a very, very dear friend of mine, and she knows me, and it hurts me to have to take the microphone from my board members because they are much more, some of them are much more articulate than I am, and probably more professional than I can be sometimes. But that being said, this is my 19th year on the Board of Education. I took a little hiatus when my daughters graduated high school, went on to college. Then I came back on the board because I didn't like the direction the board was going in, and that's not a secret to anybody. So and I was instrumental in this letter. You should know that. Other board members, they want to say what they have to do with it, but I was instrumental in the letter. I don't think it behooves you. I don't think it helps you or anyone in your group to send, and I print every one of them. The fact is, I had to go buy a new printer last weekend because of the emails that I print out about the Board of Education, but specifically about your concerns. And in my opinion only, for you or someone from your group to email all the board members, except for Mr. Klein, who I probably would think is the most knowledgeable person about special education on the Nutley Board of Education, certainly more knowledgeable than me, I'll put it that way. And he's not CC, probably because, I won't say why. But to CC Senator Sarlo, I'm not you, I'm not aiming it at you, we're talking about someone maybe from your group, to Senator Sarlo, to Commissioner Steve Rogers, or to any one of us. Let me finish, and then we're not going to turn this into a back and forth. I'm going to complete, and then you can have more to say if you like. It loses, in my opinion, you lose your credibility when you see people that have no decision in what is going on in the Nutley Board of Education. The process is very clear, and you know the process better than anyone, and your attorney was very articulate in explaining the process to us. The process is the teacher, the principal, the department head, the superintendent, and then if you don't like what you hear, then you can take it to the state. The only time it comes before the Board of Education is probably after it's gone across Christie's desk. We have nothing at all to do with the ultimate decision that you might not be happy with. And you know, you've probably just gotten a couple letters recently where it's gone to Trenton, you made it, not you, again. They made the complaints to Trenton, and Trenton has agreed with us. There is nothing going on wrong from our end of the administration as far as rules and regulations. You might not get the answers that you like from the superintendent, or you might not get the answers you like from Mrs. Schiffenhaus. She is the person that you're dealing with. She is the person in charge of that department. We chose her, we picked her, we think she's the person that's going to be leading us forward. Like it or not, she's there until we find differently. The superintendent gives the recommendations to the board. We pretty much abide by him. He's our CFO. If we have an issue that we don't think the job is being done right, then we will confront him. But I don't think that's happened now with this particular board. And speaking of this board, in my opinion, and I've been here 19 years, in my opinion, and you can shrug it off, okay? I've been with some of the worst boards you'd ever want to meet in your life, and I think this is one of the best. We have parents that have special needs children. We have parents that are educators in other districts. We have parents that have lived through the system. I'm on my grandchildren. So we all have the concern, and I don't think there's a more caring board that I've been working with in the 19 years that I've been here. So for me to get a probably 12, 13-page email verbatim, I can't do anything about it. The process is right on through to the superintendent, then to the state. And when you go to the state and you get the reply back that we've done, the administration and the town of Nutley is doing everything in order, you might not like the answer you got on your IEP or how we should deal with the IEP. We don't control that. You know we don't control it. So to send me and Senator Sarlo and the governor an email, I'm not addressing you. I'll talk to the microphone, okay, because I'm not addressing you. But you are the advocacy person that represents the group of people that forward these emails to us. They come from people in your following group.
Okay.
But I'm most taken back by they seem to go to people that don't have any input on the results. Mr. Klein, more knowledgeable than anybody on special ed, is not on the emails. And he would be the first person I would send it to. But you probably won't like the answer you'll get from him. So it doesn't go to him. And again, I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the public because this has just been built up a little bit in some of us. And you know, the board members sit here, I'm sure they would like to say something. When people see on TV and they look at a board meeting and Charlie Kaczynski's sitting in the front and he's doing everything, that's embarrassing. People know I don't want to be here as the spokesperson for Ken Riley or Sal Ferrara or Danny Carnicella. They're more, Lisa Danchek, they're more spokesperson than I will ever be. But I'm here. So I'm apologizing to the TV because our board members do have a concern. They are concerned parents. They are concerned grandparents. They have a caring for Nutley. They would not have gone out and campaigned and worked as hard as they can to get here to back the administration and support the parents as best we can. We do care. We are concerned. But the process needs to be followed. We are so far down the process of trying to deal with your situations. It's all got to go through the process, and when you don't get the answer that you like from the superintendent, then we get the emails. It's not going to make a difference to us. We're not going to go back after the superintendent and try to change his mind short of murder when it's not going to happen. and I apologize, I'm not directing it at you again, I apologize, okay? I appreciate the work you do. You know, you and I have gotten closer professionally than we were in the beginning, and I appreciate it. I do think sometimes you're overzealous, I do, and that's good, so am I. I wouldn't be here if I weren't that way. I do think sometimes you don't always give the best direction that I would take if I were a parent, but that's your call. You as an advocate, if you go to meet with the parents, sometimes you question why our attorney should be there. According to your own attorney who spoke the other night, you are, in their eyes, an attorney. So we have to have our representation there. You should not discourage that. I know we agree on that. But I just need to get that out a little bit now. I apologize. You can come forward and say something else if you'd like to. And I don't mean to go back and forth.
No, I know. I just wanted to point out that I can't talk about that. I just want to point out, so when a parent comes to me, as in this particular situation, and they want to go to the DIFAS Institutional Abuse Unit and file a complaint, or to the Nutley, Police Department and file for an investigation, and do whatever they want to do, go to Channel 7, go to Channel 12.
Have they gone through the process?
Well, if they've gone through the process, Mr. President, and they're still not happy, and
They're
if
not
they've
happy
gone
with
through
the answer, even though the process has been handled properly, they're not happy with the answer.
Okay, you're assuming that the process is being
I
handled.
know it should be. I'm saying, I hope,
Okay,
I
but I'm
hope
just
it is.
saying that the board has nothing to do with it, then that's okay. I mean, the people tend to feel, these parents tend to feel that they elected the Board of Ed members to
Control
understand,
policy,
to control policy, and to be aware of any situations that are there. So.
And we receive a daily, if not weekly, update on every situation that's taking place. This superintendent is more technological advanced than anyone I've ever dealt with before. There's not a day that goes by where one of us does not hear from him concerning an issue that's going on. So we are completely in the loop.
But understand this, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
A parent has the right to CC anybody. I
I'm-
mean, President Obama could be on these CCs. I mean, whoever you want to put on a CC. So if Senator Starlow's on a CC, whoever. It doesn't, I mean, we're going to...
I can't stop you from doing that. And I will continue to print them out and read through them and
Well,
be sure.
you know what? I really think at this point, parents are going to not want to include the board.
They
And
have a
that's a
superintendent.
shame.
He's
Well,
the
the
CFO.
parents- yeah, okay.
If they're not happy
All
with
right.
what the superintendent's doing,
Well, then-
and they go to
then
the
they-
state, they
right.
don't get their answer from the state, then call Charlie Kaczynski, not the Board of Education,
Well-
then we'll hear you, after it has gone through the process.
And that's what they've done.
No, they haven't.
Okay,
You're
Mr.
wrong.
President. All right, I'm wrong.
Anyone else wish to be heard tonight? Oh, Mr. Thomas, give me a break tonight, will you please?
Why, Mr. President, I want to compliment you. I got to hear 2 speeches from you tonight.
I know, and you weren't supposed to be here, that's why I was prepared to give them what I'm due.
We'll talk.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, I know that you and Mr. Lazovic and a few other board members were at the presentation the commissioners had about the long-term plans for the Roche property. And one of the things that I learned when I printed out their program here is that of the proposals that they're considering, all of them involve increasing residential options on the property and have actual estimates of what they think the increase in student population in our school district is going to be with that program. You know, being the president emeritus of Nutley Cynics Anonymous, I have to say...
Cynics.
Cynics.
Cynics. So negative person with Mr. Thomas.
No, I'm sorry, I thought this is like a group, I'm sorry.
If you'd like, we're having elections next week. I think these numbers are probably good underestimates of what's going to really happen. And I just want to make it clear, from my point of view, this is my opinion, that I don't think we're going to have much of a choice on that property. If we want about the biotech campus that our planners have imagined for us, and it does sound very nice, then there's going to have to be a residential component. And for those people like me who don't think there should be any residential component at all, we're just going to have to get used to that aspect of it. And I don't like having to say that, but I admit that, Mr. President. I think it's time that we all start to admit that, unless someone's got a great plan to turn the whole thing into a data farm, which I don't think anyone does. We'll take all offers and do it. But that means we need to think about our schools. Because as you've made very clear, schools are overcrowded as they are. Some of them dramatically, some not so much. But even if you take 90 more students, never mind 140, never mind the 300 that are probably taking that, okay, it's just going to be too much to bear. And I don't think we should be talking about building a 6th elementary school, because I think that's kind of silly. But this needs to be part of the conversation that the board has with the commissioners. This has to be publicly acknowledged by the commissioners. That this has to be part of what goes on. That we need to improve our school district, and if you're just going to plop 8,000 more residents on that lot of land, it's a big lot of land, okay? You just can't do it in a vacuum. And you got to tie them down physically as well as verbally. The commitment to do something about our school districts, because we are overcrowded now. And that's why I was very pleased also, Mr. President, to hear your statement earlier about how it's important that the Board of Education on these issues speak with one voice. And as far as I know, that's supposed to be you.
In reality, it's the superintendent or myself, but in reality, that's it.
And thus, when the board speaks, it is absolutely critical that a board member who also speaks is making it very clear to the press that he or she is voicing his or her own opinion, and that he or she insists that be reported just that way. I, for one, think it's best for a board member just to refrain from saying anything when it comes to school overcrowding, other than what is already made public.
We've said that tonight, and I'm sure all the board members have voiced the same concerns that you do, and I'm sure we'll be starting a much more deeper conversation after tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. If this is necessary for you to make adjustments in your appointments for liaisons, I encourage you to do so, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Is there any old business to come before the Board of Education?
Yes, I have some business. Since you already brought it up earlier, it becomes old business. I viewed that demographer's report over the weekend after I received a copy of it, and I just want to put it on the record today that I personally, and I, like you before, only speak for myself when I say this, I do not agree with any additional rezoning of any or variances to rezone any properties that are right now commercial properties, whether it's Franklin Avenue, Kingsland and Passaic, the other Franklin Avenue coming our way, or Hoffman LaRoche. This district cannot sustain an additional unit of residential property in this town. We're exploding at the seams in every single building. It's impossible to continue to develop these properties. And I'm torn because, I mean, what I do for a living is I supply hardwood flooring for these high-rise residential properties from Philadelphia to Maine. So I understand the dynamic of what it does to an infrastructure in a town. This morning I was on the phone with an administrator in Fort Lee. And if anybody's driven into the Bronx over the George Washington Bridge in the last 12 months, you see this huge 300,000 square foot tower being built that's going to incorporate almost 1,400 units. So I said to this administrator, what's the impact of that development to your school system? Because there's another building that's going to be built right next to that one. That's going to be another 1,500 units. So you're talking about almost 3,000 units. And the answer they gave me was, we're anticipating 72 additional students in the one building. Well, as Mr. Thomas appropriately said, it's nice for developers to bring in their professionals and say, well, it's only studios, it's one bedroom, it's this, it's that. Let me just say that, you know, the one-bedroom apartments on Chestnut Street, at 369 Chestnut Street, used to have kids in that apartment. One-bedroom apartments, one child in a bedroom, the mother or the father out on the sofa. Across the street, you got a pull-out bed or across the hall, you got a pull-out bed with two kids in it, and the parents in the bedroom. So let's not kid ourselves with what it means. And we need development. So it's a cross we have to bear, because we don't want to leave a building abandoned and in disrepair forever and ever and have a blight down the middle of Franklin Avenue. So I appreciate the fact that people want to come into this town and spend millions of dollars to make it a better town. But we can't, until this board and the commissioners come together with a plan, a tangible, concrete plan that's going to alleviate the overcrowding that currently exists. Forget about what the future says. We can't sustain one more residential unit. That's all I have to say.
Clear, very clear. Any other old business to come before the board?
I guess I'll put it under all that. I just wanted to, acknowledge, I know everybody else did, but the History Fair was a great job. Lisa Maria and the Academic Booster Club. I thought it was tremendous. I also want to make a note that this Saturday is the cafe night. There's one at 4:30 and the second one might be 8 o'clock for the music boosters. So it's cafe night at the high school. So if anybody'd like to attend, please, that's a great fundraiser for them. And to acknowledge that, remember, our music groups are going up to Canada, leaving April 3rd, and they could really use the funds to help offset some of the costs that are being incurred there.
Thank you. Any other old business? No microphones, Ms. Russo, you have to speak up.
Not a
I know,
problem.
but I'm just...
I'd like to piggyback on Superintendent Lazovic's comments about our students representing our district. Every event that I've attended, Mr. President, and you're those, if not 10 times more, I'm so impressed with the maturity of our students. I wanted to give a particular thank you to 3 high school students at the crew beefsteak. Took a very special liking to my 10-year-old. I didn't have a babysitter that night. And he was so welcomed by these young adults. They just really took care of him, kept him busy building their bread towers. So I'd like to thank Brandon Valentin, Mohammed Nada, and Michael DeHaas. I hope I said that right. I'm continually amazed at the maturity of our students at all of these functions that we attend. It's just such a wonderful thing to see.
That's a good point. That was a nice crowd, and we had 2 full tables of students there, and they were all completely ladies and gentlemen. Any other old business?
What was your table like?
Yeah, we were a little rowdy.
I was at his table.
I had the pleasure of attending the performance of the middle school concert choir and high school chamber singers on the other night at Lincoln Center. Students were amazing. And it was especially wonderful because this was the first time the middle school was invited to Lincoln Center, so it was very special for them. The high school's chamber singers also, they performed in an ensemble with groups from Colorado, Connecticut, and New York, with only 3 days of rehearsals. And they were just, they performed as if they rehearsed, for the past year. together.
And again, it just reiterates what I said about an active board. This is probably one of the more active boards that I've ever had the pleasure to serve on. We are everywhere. There's nothing that doesn't go by. If Ms. Russo has something going on, she'll text me and let me know about it. Mr. Riley, Freddie, we're always going back and forth. There's a hockey booster breakfast Sunday morning. And the involvement that this board has is they couldn't afford to pay us by the hour, for sure. And I really appreciate it. It goes without saying. Any other old business? Any new business? Yes, sir, Mr. Riley. It's kind of Riley night.
It's not really. There's two other issues I want to address. One is, we touched a few months ago on dress code and school uniforms, and I don't know if we're interested in pursuing that, or if we think everything is great and we should just leave things the way they are. But I for one, would like to bring that to the table again and take another look at that.
Okay. We can certainly discuss it in committee. We'll start. It's been around for a long time, and you've dealt with it before, and we started it since in the 1 year that you were off. Isn't he always off for 1 year? Okay. We'll certainly bring it back up. We're friendly. We'll bring it back up again and talk about it.
And the other issue I'd like to bring up is a re-registration. It was about 6 or 7 years ago that we did a complete re-registration. And I think that was extraordinarily beneficial to this district at a time where there were rumors of many, many children that were attending Nutley schools that were outside of the district. And I know the numbers were fairly substantial when we did that re-registration, and I understand the cost involved in it, but I think it's something we should seriously reconsider visiting again.
And I apologize because we should have brought it to your attention and the rest of the board's attention, but we certainly are starting that program this summer.
Yeah,
There was some discussion going on. It was some discussion going on between board members because now.
So we all agree.
We all agree.
Okay.
We agree. We do have a board member that is going to be using his influence with the town of Nutley to coordinate the count between the town of Nutley and the Board of Education. That program will be kicking off this summer, and Mr. Carnicella and Mr. Ferrara and Mr. Scler are going to be working hard on bringing that all together.
Very good.
Is there any other old business? Is there any new business to come before the board? Whereas the Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Education recess and close the executive session at this time to discuss 30 matters. Be it further resolved that the results of this discussion will be made public by inclusion on the agenda of the subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing such matters in closed session no longer exist. Motion? Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.